All right, welcome to lesson 8.2. We're going to talk about percents, fractions, and decimals today. The objective is that I can convert between percents, fractions, and decimals. First, let's talk about equivalence. Equivalence means things that are equal to each other. So we can use percents, fractions, and decimals to represent the same information. Here's how. If I have a percent, let's say I have 23. Ooh, just kidding. I don't want to do 23. Let's do 25%. I want to turn that into a fraction. Here's the steps. I'm going to take the percent and I'm going to put it over 100. So 1. I'm going to say 25 over 100. 2, I'm going to divide by the greatest common factor. I need to find the biggest number that can go into both of these. Well, for right now, I don't know what the greatest common factor is. I know that 5 can go into 25, and 100 ends in a 0, so 5 can probably go into there. So for step 2, I'm going to divide by 5. 25 divided by 5 gives me 5. 100 divided by 5 gives me 20. I think I can still simplify that. I know that 5 goes into 20 and 5, so I'm going to divide by 5 again. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 20 divided by 5 is 4. There's my simplest form. 25% is equivalent to 1/4 as a fraction. If you only get 25 over 100, I am fine with that. That is okay for now. Now what if I have a percent? What if I have 25% again? And I want to turn that into a decimal. It's super easy. All I have to do is divide by 100. 25 divided by 100. You can use a calculator. You're going to get 0.25. Notice how similar these numbers look. There's just a decimal place in that one. Next, we have a fraction to a percent. So let's say I have 3/5, and I want to turn that into a percent. The first thing we're going to need to do is divide. So 1, we're going to do 3 divided by 5, our top divided by our bottom. You can even add that. Top, divide by bottom. 3 divided by 5 is going to give us 0.6, and then we multiply that by 100. 0.6 times 100 equals 60%. There we go. Cool beans. If I have a fraction, let's say I have 3/5 again, and I want to turn it into a decimal, well, look, we've already done that. We just divide top divided by bottom. 3 divided by 5 gives us 0.6. There's our decimal equivalent of 3/5. What this means is that 60% and 0.6 and 3/5 all represent the same information in different ways, as a fraction, a percent, and a decimal, but they all represent the same amount. All right. Let's say we have a decimal. Let's do 0.12, and I want to turn that into a percent. Well, all I have to do is multiply by 100. 0.12 times 100. You can use a calculator, and you're going to end up with 12%. That one's not too bad. It's working with fractions when we have to divide by the greatest common factor or find a factor to divide by that it gets a little tricky. So if I have 0.12 again, here's my decimal. I want to turn this into a fraction. The first thing I'm going to do, multiply by 100. Cool. Second thing I'm going to do, put 100 in the denominator. So now I have 12 over 100. Step 3 is going to be to divide by the greatest common factor. Now, I don't really know what the greatest common factor is between 12 and 100, but I know that I can divide by 2 because they're both even numbers. 12 ends in a 2, 100 ends in a 0. That means they can be divided by 2. So we'll start there. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Well, again, even numbers, I can divide by 2 again, so I'm going to do that. And sometimes this is how we simplify things. We just keep dividing until we can't anymore. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 50 divided by 2 is 25. And I think that's as simple as we can get. 3 is a prime number, so we're done. 3 25ths. I would also be happy with 12 hundredths or 6 50ths. I'm not super worried about your ability to simplify right now. I'm more concerned that you can turn it into a fraction. All right, why do we care? Why are we learning this? Well, let's talk about oftentimes when you're grocery shopping, for example, and I didn't use a grocery shopping example, I used a me example, you'll see half off or 50% off, or you'll have 46% off, or you can have 2/3 off, and you need to be able to kind of loosely compare those in your mind. So knowing common ones, common decimal percents and fractions, is helpful. So for example, Mr. Keeley spends 28% of his time at school grading assignments. Write this as a fraction in simplest form and a decimal. Well, 28% as a fraction, so we're going from percent to fraction. Percent to fraction, we're going to put it over 100 and divide by our GCF. 28 over 100. And now I need to divide by my greatest common factor. I don't know what my greatest common factor is. I think it might be 2. We'll start with 2 because they're both even numbers. 28 divided by 2 is 14. 100 divided by 2 is 50. We still have 2 even numbers. Let's divide by 2 again. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 50 divided by 2 is 25. Prime number on top, we're done. So I spend 7 25ths of my time at school grading assignments. We have a fraction now. Done. I also need that as a decimal. So to turn a percent to a decimal, I'm just going to divide it by 100. So 28 divided by 100 equals 0.28. Done. All right, you are going to watch a video now for the practice. There's a chart on the next page you're going to use to help you with some common fractions, decimals, and percents.